What's good, YouTube? It's Justice I Used to Be Paying. Today I'm back with another video, and in this video I'm going to be talking about Polo G and this super delayed but important album. But before I get into that, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Do all those things. It helps me out a ton. Polo G was supposed to drop the album Hood Poet last year, and around that time last year I made a video talking about the entire situation surrounding the album and how I felt that that album was extremely pivotal for the rest of Polo G's career and how people saw him. And now we're a year removed from that video and we still don't have the album, but I still stand by pretty much everything that I said in that video. I don't think I would go back and change really anything that I said for the most part. But now the main difference between then and now is that the album has been delayed to an unprecedented amount at this point for Polo G's career. We don't know when this project's coming out. It's pretty much just been kind of put on the shelf and we don't have any updates. We don't know anything about the project besides like him liking a few comments here and there on his, social media and saying, oh yeah, the album probably will be coming soon. But for the most part, we're kind of in the dark. But some real life stuff has happened to Polo G since, around the time that he was supposed to drop the album. So everything is really kind of understandable when you look at what's really been happening with Polo G. Starting with his arrest in August of 2023, I believe, he was supposed to drop the album Hood Poet around that time. I don't know if this is exactly correct, but I want to say it was the week the album was supposed to come out, or maybe like 2 weeks before, something like that. But his house in LA got raided. Him and his brother were arrested. It was connected to some sort of like robbery. And then they found some firearms in his car that were from him. And so he got arrested for that. And that kind of messed up the whole release date thing. But honestly, like with a lot of rappers, it's weird to say, but like sometimes getting arrested right before you drop a project isn't really that bad of a thing. Like as long as it's nothing crazy that's going to like put you in jail for like 15, 20 years. Like if it's something that you can just kind of fight it out and maybe you end up on probation for a little bit, it's low-key not a bad thing for some people. Some people get that boost off of getting arrested, but this was a little bit different because this was a family member that was also involved. It wasn't just Polo G fighting this on his own. So it's a little bit different. And so there was a little bit of a delay there that was completely understandable. Nobody was really up in arms about the whole situation. Obviously, people wanted the album, but it's like, him and his brother just got arrested. Like, have some humanity. But then later on down the line in that exact same year, around November, his brother was then charged with a murder. And that just kind of blew everything up. Obviously, everyone is talking about it. Everyone's talking about his little brother being charged with that. But that was kind of the moment where I was like, yeah, we're probably not going to get this album for a while now. Again, not trying to focus on that. But when it's something that serious with your family member, everything else kind of goes out the window. Everything is kind of locked in on their situation. So that probably played a factor into why the album was pushed back. Again, we don't really know, but I wouldn't be shocked if that was one of the reasons why. And then later on down the line, closer to now a couple weeks ago, his sister ends up posting a video of her mom like chasing her out the house. And the mom ends up, let's just say, unloading her firearm in the direction of the younger sister. And that's just a whole crazy situation. And they've been going back and forth. So there's been a lot going on for Polo G in the last year since he was supposed to drop this project. So him pushing it back because of these family reasons, which we don't even know if that's the case, but if that is the case, it makes a lot of sense. I'd probably just want to handle all of that before I thought about anything music wise. But this album was and still is huge for Polo G's career, in my opinion. As I said before, I think that this is going to determine the way that a lot of rap fans look at Polo G, because if you look at the beginning of his career, he debuted with, Die Legend in 2019 in the mainstream eyes, and that's probably the best way you could start a mainstream career. Like that project was great. It was well received. Everyone loved it. Everyone looked at Polo G as somebody who was up and coming and who was just going to be the future of rap. And then, he had some hits in between that project and his next one, which was GOAT, which wasn't as good as Die Legend, but was still very well received. Like people still talked about him in very high regard. They had a lot of respect for that project. So it wasn't like, it was such a dip in quality that everyone was like, oh, he was a one-hit wonder with the album. Like, no, everyone respected that album still. Die Legend was just such a high mark that it's understandable that your next project doesn't reach that mark. But after GOAT, he was seen as like one of the rising young stars in rap. He was held to the standard of one of the guys who was going to be, a carrier of rap going into the future. He was one of the guys that was, seen as like somebody who was the future of rap. He was somebody that was going to carry the genre into the future and be looked at as one of the best and brightest stars and one of the biggest stars in the future, alongside guys like Young Boy, Roddy Ricch, and DaBaby.
You're losing your damn mind, boy.
which I know it sounds crazy to say now, but this is 2019, 2020 me talking here. And that's something that wasn't ridiculous to say back then, that, you know, Young Boy, DaBaby, Roddy Ricch, and Polo G were going to carry the genre of rap into the future as the next big things. Then he drops the album Hall of Fame, and that pretty much changed the entire perspective and the entire narrative when it comes to Polo G, especially online. It wasn't completely random though. The change wasn't random, because before the album dropped, there were some like crumbs of hate that were coming in for Polo G, a little bit of, you know, whispers in the background, but that happens for every artist, right? Every artist has haters. If you're a big artist, there's nobody that's just universally loved by everyone. So there was little crumbs of hate here and there, you know, people talking about his beat selection not being the best, and, you know, he really loves the piano, and some of his songs sounding kind of similar. There was a little bit of hate coming in, a little bit of whispers in the background, some noise in the wind, but it wasn't anything too crazy. And then Hall of Fame dropped, and that album just was not good in the opinion of most people. I don't think the album was very good. Most people just didn't really like the project. So you take that little trail of hate and combine it with an album that wasn't well received, and it was basically like if there was a little fire, a little campfire in the wilderness started by a couple of people, and somebody came and then dropped a nuke on that fire, because the hate after Hall of Fame dropped for Polo G was ridiculous. It went from, like, you know, there were real criticisms that were there. There were real critiques of his music that were there, and maybe they were a bit exaggerated, but at the end of the day, the core like actual critique was real. It was something that was valid, that anybody that listens to his music could hear and say, okay, yeah, I could see where you could get that from. I could see where you would say maybe he needs to switch up his beat selection, maybe he needs to do this. I could understand that. It went from that type of criticism to just hate writing, just a trend, just a wave of hate. Because with a mainstream rapper, whenever they start getting hated on like that, when it rains, it pours, and it goes from, you know, just, again, regular valid criticism that might be stretched a little too far to just a wave of hate, and everyone just hating on this rapper just because it's a trend to do it on the internet. Everyone's doing it just because everyone else is doing it online. Kind of like we're seeing with Lil Baby. Again, there's going to be people in the crowd who have valid critiques, valid criticisms, and actually can point at the things that they're talking about. And then there's just going to be people who are just hating because everyone else is hating. And that's what happened to Polo G after Hall of Fame. Hood Poet was going to be an album that was damn near like Polo G's last chance. Now, obviously, there's like no last chance when you're dropping music, because anybody can go listen to you again. But like the last chance for him kind of to get the internet and the rap fan base back on his side again, because a lot of people had turned their backs on Polo G after Hall of Fame. So this album was supposed to be a big moment to kind of reel everyone back in, because people had, you know, kind of turned on Polo G, but they never stopped like giving him their ear. So people would still listen every now and then just to check and see if he was still trash in their opinion or something like that. But they never completely quit on him. And this project, if it had a big rollout and everyone was talking about it, it would have still got people's ears, and people still would have gave this project a chance. But now, with this project being pushed back and there's no real like future in sight, we don't know any dates or anything like that, it raises a lot of questions and concerns for Polo G, because this was the album to prove the haters wrong, and we don't really know what's going on with it. There was a trailer that came out last year for it, and it was building up a lot of hype online. Like, there was interest from people, not just Polo G's diehard fan base. Like, there was a lot of interest for this project, but at the moment, there's no hype. Nobody really knows anything. And this was supposed to be the moment where he kind of proved the internet wrong. But what's really even going on at this point? Outside of Polo G's diehard fan base, there is no hype for this album. It's completely dead. The fans are still in his comment section, the diehards in his comment section on social media, like, where's the album? You know, when's it coming out? Is it coming soon? And, you know, he's, you know, replying to them and responding to them. But outside of that, outside of those people that interact with Polo G almost every day on social media, or listen to his music 5 times a day and follow his Instagram and make sure they're watching all this stuff, besides those people, there's no hype. Most people, when it comes to this album, Hood Poet, they either A, don't know it exists, or B, completely forgot about it and just never thought about it again after they realized that he wasn't going to drop it anytime soon. So there's really no hype for this project right now. And Polo G, for the most part, is a regular guy. He's a regular rapper. He's not out here trying to play like the mysterious game like he's Playboy Cardi. He's still, you know, posting on social media every now and then, or he's still kind of, you know, going outside and seen outside. So it's not like he's trying to build up this mysterious aura on Instagram and deleted all his posts and posted this random flashing image of a vampire. Like, he's not doing all that. He's just kind of chilling. Like, he's not doing any of the mysterious stuff. He's not on a Finsta page posting snippets of his new sound, this new music. Like, he's just, you know, kind of chilling right now. And it's not like he's Cardi again, where he can just post one thing. He can post something on his story and he's going to be trending on Twitter for the next 3 to 4 weeks. If he announced the album right now, he would start, you know, getting a lot more buzz and a lot more traction. So it's not completely just dead. Like, he can never revive the album, but he's not a mysterious rapper. He's not trying to be mysterious or build up some cool aura thing. He's just been kind of chilling. So in terms of hype for the album right now, it is completely at a zero outside of the select few who are die hard, love this man Polo G fans. Polo G has really kind of put himself behind the 8 ball with this project, because now not only does he have to prove all the haters wrong and all the hate that's been coming out over the last 2 years, he has to go in and prove that wrong and get those people, well, not necessarily, he doesn't have to, but like, that's probably the goal of this project. He wants to prove those people wrong, prove all those haters wrong, and show everyone that he really is as good as people thought he was in 2019 when he first came out. And he also has to build hype back up for this new project. And it's always easier to get people excited about something the first time than it is the second time when you kind of pump faked it the first time. So he is really behind the 8 ball right here. He's really put himself in a tough situation, and it's going to take a lot for him to come out of this and be triumphant, in my opinion. It's just a really tough situation for him. I wouldn't advise it. I don't think most people in general would advise it, but that's the situation that he's in right now. That's the reality. So this project has to have a great rollout, and it has to be really, really good for Polo G, but also at the same time, because there is a silver lining to everything, right? Like I said, there's no hype for this project. Nobody's talking about this album. Nobody's talking about Hood Poet online. If you go and search Polo G on Twitter, there's not that many people tweeting about Polo G in general. Like, overall, there is no hype. There's no talk surrounding Polo G right now. But if there's no talk, that also means that there's no hate. That hate train for Polo G has definitely died down by now. Nobody's really doing the whole Polo G memes, Piano G. Nobody's really doing that at the moment. It's just kind of a dead conversation. So while, yes, it's bad that, you know, his name isn't trending and nobody's really talking about him, it's also good because nobody's now hating on him. There's no trend of hate. And this might allow people to actually go and listen to his music and judge it fairly. Judge it without having all of the Twitter memes in the back of their mind and the TikTok videos in the back of their mind. They can just go and listen to it and take it in for what it is, pause, and just enjoy it if they enjoy it, and dislike it if they dislike it. Like, they can go in with a clean slate now because the hate wave has died. They're not brainwashed by TikTok and Twitter anymore. So while in general, I would say that this is a bad thing, there's a silver lining to everything in life. And in this scenario, it's the fact that he has a clean slate now with most people. Most people, honestly, might even miss Polo G at this point. They might say, you know, those Piano G memes were funny, but he was really nice, like 2019, 2020. I think he deserves another chance. And they might go listen to this album. If he has a crazy rollout, you know, he's doing trailers and stuff, and he drops a lead single and it's really good, this could be a great thing for Polo G to kind of wipe the slate clean. And maybe that's what he's been trying to do this whole time. Who knows? Maybe he's a super genius, but that is something that I wanted to bring up. It's not all negative just because, you know, he ended up pushing his album back. It also could be a good thing. But for sure, he's going to need one hell of a rollout when it comes to this project, because if this rollout goes with a whimper in the night and nobody really hears about the rollout and he drops the project and the numbers are rough, mainstream wise, he might be kind of in trouble for his career. Obviously, he can keep making music and doing his thing, but like in terms of how he was seen in the mainstream eye as one of the top dogs, that might not be the case going into the future. A non-mysterious rapper, which is a stupid sentence to say, but you understand what I'm talking about. A non-mysterious rapper like Polo G moving like this just isn't a good idea. If he was Kanye or Cardi or Travis or A$AP Rocky or something, this might not be that big of a deal. But for somebody like Polo G, it's not the best case scenario. It's kind of like, you know, telling a sixth grader to go drive your car. There are a select few sixth graders who can drive their car because, you know, their parents taught them at a stupid young age. But for most sixth graders in the country, they're not going to be able to drive your car, and it's going to end up bad. And that might be the scenario that happens with Polo G. Now, I do hope that he drops a great album. I hope it goes great for him. I hope the music is fire. I'm just saying right now, he is in a pretty tough position, at least in my opinion, and it's going to take a lot for him to kind of get out of this situation. Polo G really, really needs to hit a home run with this album, or he might end up suffering a similar fate to DaBaby. DaBaby, you know, a guy who had a fantastic moment in rap in like 2019 to 2020, had a great little run, but was never one of the guys. Outside of that moment, you know, he wasn't a prominent figure in rap. After 2020, 2021, 2022, like up until now, he's not one of the most prominent rappers in the game. He was just kind of a guy that had a moment. And, you know, after that, you know, he was all right, it's whatever. And that could be the fate of Polo G in terms of how people look at him in his career. He was a guy that was really hot 2019, 2020, 2021. But after that, you know, he was all right. You know, he was just kind of a guy that passed through. And that could be the fate of Polo G if this album doesn't end up going well, or this rollout is rough and overall the project just doesn't hit people and impact the culture the way that you would want it to. But who knows? Maybe he comes out and guns blazing, he goes crazy, #1 hit going into the album with his rollout single, and the album sells 160K first week. He goes on tour, and Polo G is officially back, and people start respecting him again. Because I say this every time I talk about Polo G, because I want people to understand that I'm not a hater. In terms of pure talent, from the guys in this newer generation, let's just say 2019 on, 2018 on, I think Polo G is the most purely talented rapper that we have. There's nothing that he can't do on the microphone, in my opinion. I think in terms of just raw talent, now we're not talking about how his music sounds. We're not talking about any of that, his beat selection, none of that. In terms of just pure talent, if you said, give me the talent of one rapper, like that's what your starting base is going to be, I'd say Polo G. Because he can do everything. So I want this to be known. I don't hate Polo G. I like Polo G. I think he could be a great artist all the time, but he just hasn't been that so far, and he really needs this project to be great, in my opinion. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. If you made it this far, I greatly, greatly appreciate you. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. I go by the name of Pay. Peace.